Anyways, why don't we just get started? Um, I'd like to introduce Guy Wellman. He's the sales manager or a sales manager at RoofTech. We've worked with RoofTech now for, I think, about 4 years or so. Like, it's really
Yeah.
been quite impressive how quickly the market share of RoofTech has grown in the Canadian market, and we're really, really excited about the products you guys offer.
Well, thank
With
you.
that being said, I'm going to pass the ball over to Guy. If people have questions, there is a chat function in this app or in this website here, WebEx. Ask away whenever there's a break quickly where I can ask questions to Guy. I will. As the questions come up, we'll do that. So that being said, go ahead, Guy.
Sounds good. Let me start sharing real quick. Now I'm gonna typically during one of my presentations, we've got this video playing in the background. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. And it's a short little video of people installing roof tech, and but it's usually playing as people are walking in. So I should have been maybe playing it while Danny was talking. But
All good.
so yeah, like Danny said, my name is Guy Wellman. I do handle the Canada market as well as the Midwest for the U.S. and have been with Roof Tech going on 4 years now. So it's a product that has been growing, gaining steam over the last few years. Something that we already knew was going to happen, and as you can see, and as I go through this presentation, I might, I reference, some competitors and not specific competitors, but just to say that the way that we attach to a roof now is being adapted throughout as a viable option. Where a handful of years ago, this is if you weren't doing a traditional flashing, you were pretty much laughed off the phone. So some of the things I'm going to talk about, just the background of our company, a little bit on our rail lists. I know that's not too big in that area, but definitely the Mini, which I believe is being used throughout Canada and being adapted more so. And then more on the Alpha Seal, that's our flexible flashing, some applications, and then, save up for some questions. So just for people that don't know, our company, Roof Tech, we've been around for quite a while. It's a lot of people think we're just new to the market, but it's not the case. We actually started in 1968. Our parent company, Yana Geekin, started off as roof installers and then slowly turned from roof installers to roof manufacturers. And then in 1994, completed our first solar job and have been moving that way ever since. In the early 90s, Japan was heading for their 1 million installs of solar, which is something that California has just accomplished maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So we've been doing it for a long time. We are a second generation family owned company. And really with Japan, what's going to make us a little bit different than most is the amount of testing that goes into our products. From before we even go to market, before we even go to third-party testing, we are testing. We have just been a big supporter of this, or a big believer in, we don't want to have any recalls, and we've never had any recalls because the amount of testing that we have done going into it before the third party even gets a hold of it and can do their tests. Stating that some of these pictures here, the picture on the left is one of our testing facilities in the mountains of Japan. So that's about 4 or 5 feet of snow. That's the same array in the middle. And then on the right there is another array that we have on the coast. So it's real life salt spray, real life snow lows, real life wind, real life heat, real life exposure, not just laboratory testing. This is one of our certifications. This is ICC. This is International Code Council. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this is basically these guys come to your facility and they want to make sure that the products that you are producing are the products that you are being tested for getting any kind of certifications. You know, they just want to make sure that the product that you are handing over to them is the same product that you are manufacturing. You're not trying to, slip a rule on them. This is a pretty expensive test to do, and it's not required, which I think it should be. But at the same time, this is something that really helped us come to market by stating that this is exactly what we're manufacturing. Now, knowing that you guys know a little bit about our minis, or it really doesn't matter, our minis or even our railless, the way that we are attaching to the roof is using this 3/16 wood screw over onto the left. And this is just basically showing how difficult it is to use a traditional lag bolt and doing the traditional flashing. The red is basically, it's 1.5 times the diameter of that screw, and you place that on the sides of wherever you're attaching whatever rafter, and you cannot be hitting into that red. So you've got to be very exact. With our wood screw, it just shows that, you've got a lot of room there to still be viable and still have the structural that you are looking to achieve. And really, I mean, I talk about it all the time. I'd rather stand on one or, 2 feet than, 1. And this is, looking at that one lag screw compared to our 2 wood screws for a rafter install. Some of the common things that can happen doing a lag screw, you can see to the left, basically missing the rafter, but you're just running along the side. Really a trained guy is going to know that he has done that. Somebody that's maybe a little newer is not going to know. Blowing out rafters. This is stuff that is just, when you go to sell a house and, the guy comes in and he wants to look inside and he sees some of these are going to be red flags. These are things that you didn't know were issues until you go to sell your home, and now you've got to fix this. Or this is going to be a result in having leaks with doing a traditional install with solar. Our PE stamp letters, US, it's more on the Canada side. We do have more, and we're getting more every day. And it's basically, we're going to where the jobs are. If you've got jobs in the gray areas, let us know, and we'll start getting these PE stamp letters, basically stating what our max spans are for all of our products. On our railless, I know that a lot of you guys aren't really getting into the railless right now, but just to go through a few of the things that why people are moving to the railless. A lot of the bigger national installers across North America are using a railless product now instead of a rail product, only for, logistic wise, shipping, damaged rail, bent rail. But some of the flexibility of our product is, the one clamp, or our clamps, our end clamps, our mid clamps, will handle any module from a 30 millimeter to a 40 millimeter. There's leveling right on the top, 1.25 inches. It's really just going to help out the flexibility if you've got to add different modules. You come to a site, you didn't realize that there was a stink pipe, you didn't realize that there was an issue where you have to either move a module or add someplace else. This is just going to help. And like all of our bases, we're going to be good for any kind of roof material, so it's no wood shake, no clay tile, and no PVC. The PVC is just because it's not compatible with our flexible flashing. The wood shake is definitely a metal traditional flashing install, and the clay tile can be used, but it's, removing clay tiles and putting it on the underlayment. You guys don't really run into much of that up there. So this quick video of doing a railless, I'm going to skip through it. This is something I can provide you guys if that is an interest down the line. I know we were going to concentrate more on the rail or the mini, but also with the railless, it is going to be different wire management. Everybody's used to tying their inverters or wiring everything up to the rail. And without a rail, there's nothing up there. So you do all your wire management on the ground, which personally I think is a little safer. You're not doing it on the roof. So you wire management to the back of the module itself. And then our clamps actually do have troughs throughout to help out with what's left over. Again, some of the leveling, that's going to help out with some of these wonky roofs where, they're not quite level. There could be additions added on. There's ridges that run through. It's just a way to at least make that array nice and level from the ground. It looks great, and it's hiding kind of a uneven roof. Again, some of the this case study, it was just to really show that using our railless product here, you can see that the way the orientation, it is both. So it's one product that is going to be able to install, whether it's portrait or landscape. We have two different slope roofs. We have two different materials of roof, and it's all using the same product. Bonding with this, that's a common question. There is a skirt. You can see the circle that is just kind of highlighted. A skirt that runs in front of this array. It is just, it's aesthetic. It's to make it look a little nicer, but then it also bonds everything east and west. And if you did not want to use the skirt, don't need the skirt, you could also use splices or just a typical bonding lug that you're already using. We have an SDST screw, which is helping with the strength of our product. It will help expand these max spans for our railless. Helps more in the snow load area, especially in Canada. And like I said, too, there is an estimator tool, basically drawing out the array for you and identifying what products are going to be needed for that install. Everything is drop-down menus. It's very easy to use, but it eliminates somebody having to write out their BOM by hand. It's basically putting in your criteria of the roof, pitch of roof, address, where it's located, snow and wind loads, and then it's going to pop out engineering report, basically stating all the product that you would need from us, along with pictures or diagrams of the array. And then also your engineering report stating what your max spans and everything are going to be. Splices, this is something that we get into a little bit, but the splices are going to be more for modules that are going to be able to handle that. Not all modules allow for splicing or corner clamping. This gets into a lot with, people, even with our minis, will ask what our max spans are, and it's, or where our clamping zones are. Well, that comes from the module manufacturers themselves. It does not come from the racking. So same with the splices, it's only certain modules are going to allow for that or corner clamping, and that you have to identify through the module manufacturer. So sorry, I kind of went through that a little bit quicker. I know that you guys are a little bit more interested in the minis or have been using the minis or looking to change to the minis. So with the minis, like our railless bases, there is no pre-drilling, no pre-caulking, no post-caulking. This product is going to be a decking attachment as well as a rafter attachment. So a rafter attachment is going to be 2 screws right through the middle of the base. And then the decking attachment is going to be 5 screws, the 2 on either side and the top. So the zero caulking, except for on metal roofs, but I will get to that. We asked for a little bit of sealant at the top as a water diversion. This is a watertight seal with our backing. This is not a water diversion. This is not water shedding like traditional flashing. This is basically you peel the back, the paper off the back of this, place it down on your shingles, put in your screws, and it is immediately watertight. It talks about some of the temperatures that you can do or achieve. I need to convert this over to Canadian or Celsius, but I haven't yet. but you're going to be good down to -40. You're going to be up to 180. Temperature wise, while installing it, it would be about 22 degrees, which doesn't seem like much, but it's not the end of the world. It's just like sealant. This is something where when you get into the colder temperatures, you need to keep the bases a little bit warmer. Keep them in the cab before you're going to use them. Once you have shed the ice off the roof and have dried out the roof, typically you're going to get, because you have a lot of heat coming up through the house. What you need to do is a little bit of a heat gun on the back of this. So it just needs to be malleable when you are screwing it into the roof. And then it can instantly go down to -40. It just needs to be pliable. It needs to be rubbery. It can't be frozen. And this is going to be using anybody's L-foot, anybody's rail. So here's the product. This is just a side view here. It does show a little bit of a butyl buildup. That is something that you will see in, I believe, the next slide, or it's coming back up. Basically, anytime it's going to land on a uneven shingle course, it's not going to be just on a flat surface. You can use butyl, or you could use the our extra flexible flashing, or you can also use shingles themselves. I have seen people do cutaways. So you actually can't cut the main shingle, obviously, but the beauty tabs on shingles you can. And you can use those if you need to build them up. But we do provide extra butyl. But on the mini side, you really get to dictate where this is going to be located. On the railless side, you're kind of pigeonholed to how thick the module is, or the width or the length. So you're kind of dictated, on the eave row, you'll have flat surface. Your next bases that you lay down are typically going to be on uneven shingle courses. On the mini here, we don't see a lot of people having to do much butyl work. You get to really, design where these bases are going to be located.
Hey, Guy.
Yeah, go on.
Quick question from Shamor about the temperatures. The question was if it is in Celsius. What were the temperatures again?
So you are looking at -40
okay.
up to, so -40 is going to be -40 Celsius or
Correct.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And then up to 178 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is 81 degrees Celsius.
Correct. So we're going to have you covered. It's just making sure, you can go well below freezing or what you guys are going to install on or in that temperatures. But it just needs to be warm when you install it. So that's why I say take a heat gun on the roof. You can do a quick test. You peel the back of it, you stick it on the shingle. Does it stick? It's good to go. If it does not stick, heat it up again. You just need it to stick a little bit, and then you put your screw in, because it just needs to be malleable or rubbery or pliable when you are screwing it into that cavity.
Okay, thank you.
The mini does act as a conduit mount as well. There is a self-tapper screw along the side of it. I'm sure people that have used the minis are also using it as a conduit mount. Is not a necessity anymore. I talked to Danny a little bit earlier today about we do have a new conduit mount coming out by the end of this month, and I will be providing Danny and his team at Franken some samples to hand out and see how everybody likes them. It's a bit of an overkill when they use the mini for a conduit mount, just because of the testing that we've gone through. That it doesn't need much for a conduit mount. At the same time, it's a little expensive for a conduit mount, so that's why we have designed a new product.
And sorry, there was a follow-up questions from Shamor.
Yeah.
The butyl tape, what temperature does it need to be when you install it?
So it needs to be above 22 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. 22 degrees Fahrenheit is -5.5 degrees Celsius. Just looked it up.
But again, that's stating that that's what temperature it needs to be at.
Yeah.
So you can achieve that degree by using the heat gun.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, once it gets lower than that outside, it's not the end game. It's not that you can't install it. You just need to get that the flexible butyl on the back of it heated up enough so it, once you put the screw through, it pulls into that void, that cavity.
Yeah. Maybe store them somewhere warmer until you
Yeah, I
actually
always
need
tell
them
people
to.
leave them in the truck before you use them. I've got guys that put them in their coat pocket, you know, and then I refer it to, you know, they're used to using sealant, you know, on those cold days. They don't leave their sealant out, you know, they don't, you know, it's not just on the garage floor or on the, you know, driveway. It's staying as warm as they can keep it, you know, so it's pliable. So this is just a little bit more of the diagram that I was talking about before. So it's 2 screws for a rafter install, which you're going to achieve longer spans or bigger spans going rafter, and then 5 screws. So there's basically 2 on either side here and 1 in the top. When you're doing a rafter install on the left or on the right here, where you've got the 2 screws, you just have to make sure your bolt is put in. The two screws of ours will lock in that bolt. So people that have used this in the past, they'll find out the hard way. You put in both your screws without putting in your bolt, you won't get your bolt in. So you just need to put 1 screw in, then your bolt for your L foot, and then the second screw.
Yeah, I would say probably 90% of the RT minis that we're selling are being installed with 5 screws into the decking. That's what we see in the market at the moment in Canada, anyways. I think in the US it's a little bit different. I think Joe used to tell me that a lot of people are going into the rafters in the US.
Well, it's the product wise. So it's more the railless side. I definitely am pushing, especially in Canada or even the top of my states, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the upper parts of those states. I'm advocating hitting rafters with the railless side because you can achieve longer spans. Gotcha. In the mini arena, we still have a lot of people using just going straight decking.
Yeah. And Andrew just commented that finding rafters can be a pain, which, you know, it's a huge sales tool for using RT minis. That's one of the huge advantages of the RT minis is that you don't have to worry about hitting any rafters, right?
Correct. So you don't have to hit the rafters. It's going to be the same product for decking or the rafters. I'll also have a slide farther on that, you know, if you were trying to hit rafters and you missed a rafter, you could just turn it into a decking and keep moving. But yeah, a rafter only install is definitely a option. That is why I guess our product is done so well, because it has eliminated the need to, you know, find rafters.
Yeah. And we have a lot of most of the people that, you know, do a lot of installs that we work with, they're using a lot of 2-foot on centers anyways, at which point it's not any issues with the span. And then we're working with Schletter on the racking itself, and they're bringing out a smaller rail as well, which will help save even more money going forward. So that will be available around June timeframe. So we'll be working perfectly together with the RT Mini.
That is great. This is what I was talking about. If you guys were hitting rafters, it is basically a so you have 2 options or 3. I mean, you've got a decking only, you've got a rafter, you've also got a decking rafter decking, and then also this is what we have called like a hybrid attachment. Basically, you put it in that first screw, and the diagram, it's not showing that there is 2 rafters next to each other. It's either side. Basically, you can just cover up one. It's showing that if you hit a rafter on the side, it's basically the same as if we hit it right down the middle, and we've done the testing for that as well. Adjustability too. People have asked us in the past, you know, when are we going to get an integrated L foot? When is it all going to be one piece? I understand it takes a little bit of time to put your L foot and the bolt together compared to if it was just an integrated L foot. Actually, we will probably never do this. And one of the reasons is because there is some play. There's flexibility here from almost bolt to bolt. You've got about 2 inches of play to be able to bring that L foot to your rail. So if the rail is damaged, if it's mismeasured and put down improperly, you're not bending the rail to meet your L foot anymore. You're bringing your L foot to the rail. You're going to, by bending this or trying to force it to an integrated L foot, it is really putting undue stress on that roof. And over time, over the course of a year, maybe 2 years, you're going to see loose bolts because it was putting so much stress on it. And then with the expansion and contraction, wind, you rattle those nuts and bolts around, things are going to be loose. I mean, if you look at anybody's manual, it'll say like you should be going back after year 1 to tighten up nuts and bolts. I know that most people don't do that, but that's what they state. And so, well, with us being able to move to that rail, that's going to at least alleviate some of that pressure and will probably be less likely to have loose nuts and bolts when you go back, if you went back.
Yeah, and one of the benefits of your product is that it is agnostic, right? So if you have an integrated L foot, now maybe it doesn't work with some of the racking, some of the rail that
exactly.
that it works now. So that would be counterproductive.
Well, yeah. You'll see that a lot of companies too. I mean, for the longest time, we were in Iron Ridge's manual. We were in a couple other manuals because they just didn't think this was a viable option. We are not in the manuals anymore. But every one of these companies are going to have just a standard L foot. Of course, they're going to also produce L feet that are, specific to their traditional flashing. But at the same time, they're always going to carry just a generic L foot. And so really it's a way for you guys to be able to keep doing what you're doing, keeping your L foot, keeping your rail, and then just having a quicker install process because of the flashing, no longer needing to find the rafters, no more pilot holes, no more pre-caulking, no more post-caulking. It's just going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, and Schletter has even stopped producing any sort of flashing themselves because your product is in their drawings, for example, right? So it is something that we've worked with them to integrate into all their drawings and their pre-stamped drawings, right, for building permits, etc. So yeah, they're very happy with the product as well.
Yeah, that is nice. This is another test. Again, I'm going to run through a lot of these different tests pretty quick, but this is why if you've ever looked at a Mini and you look at our screws, they're offset. They're offset screws. And then you also have products out there that say, oh, why do they got 5 screws? I can do it with 4 screws. Well, this is something that we found out early on that really what you're going to do is out of the number of screws for a decking install, you are eventually going to find where one of these screws has no value because it has gone through a butt joint of the plywood or OSB. So what we've done here is our system only requires 4 screws. We're thinking that you're going to hit a butt joint somewhere out of, and one of these screws is going to have no value at all. So really it's just going to be the 4 screws, and no matter what, because we are offset, you will never have 2 screws going into that same butt joint, making it even less viable. So you'll see that people ask, why is it offset? This is why. It's to prevent from having 2 screws going through that butt joint and having no value whatsoever. Our max span calculator that we do have online, this is something that can be worked on the fly. If you had to change it up, let's say you were going rafters and then you missed a rafter, you can calculate it right away on your phone to figure out what your next span should be. But this is something that's going to be easy. If they were up on a roof and didn't have this already, they can work it on their phone. But more times than not, your installers are going to be out on the roof. They're going to know what their max spans are before they get there. But it's just to show you, we do this for you. You don't have to do the math. We do have the PE stamp letters where you can figure it out yourself. But I would rather just plug in your variables and then have it produce a max span for you. Again, on the roof, this is just showing the difference between, how our butyl, It is our butyl, and for the longest time we've been calling it butyl, and we shouldn't have. Our, some of our people that are no longer with us who were advising us not to call it butyl for the longest time, and we just couldn't understand it. And now you run into people stating, one thing. Hey, I come and I fix jobs all the time where it's people putting butyl on the back of elf foot and attaching it to the roof. Well, it's not our butyl. Our butyl is specific to ours. It is proprietary to us. It's our patented butyl. That's why we changed it to like an alpha seal technology. But this is what it's doing. It is pulling into that cavity, and it really does seal up immediately. Some of these other slides I will show you, we've installed this in water. We've done fully submerged tests. That's why we are able to be installed on all roofs from a 0 pitch to a 45. It's not meaning that outside of the 45 that we can't do it. It just needs separate engineering. We didn't do any kind of testing or engineering past 45. So we have been installed on those very steep church roofs, and it has been fine. It's just a third-party engineer coming in and A-okaying it. So here are these temperatures that I was talking about, and I can send these out, and for whatever reason, I just have not converted it to Celsius, and I need to do that. But this is what is sealing everything up. This is what is making it waterproof. And like I said, we've done the fully submerged tests. We've also done at shows where we install this in water. We fill a piece of a roof with water, install at the time, back out the screw completely, and there you can see a drip. You put it back in, and it seals it right back up. So the temperatures are, like I said, the -40 to 248, not 176, but the app temperature, the temperatures that needs to be installed, it's the 22 degrees to 176. So again, the 22 degrees, what did you say that was -5?
The 176 is
no, the 22.
22. Yeah, it's -5.5.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I've been on jobs where
freezing.
I'm well below freezing and we're installing it, but it's a sunny day. It's a nice day. The roofs are dry, and it just takes heating up the back of our bases a little bit, just making them warm enough to install it. And then once it's installed, it instantly can get cold again. It just needs to be pliable. Like you should see the screw poking through the butyl right now. It needs to be like that just for when it installs, just as it enters the sheathing or whatever surface structure that you're installing on. This is the video where I was showing a butyl buildup. With the minis, though, you really won't come across. You'll see more installers than not saying, "I've got a bunch of extra butyl," because we do include a little of extra butyl with each case of minis, but you really get to dictate where these bases are being placed. You'll have very limited butyl buildup, but on the railless side, you will see a lot more of this. And again, like I was mentioning, you can cut away beauty tabs. You cannot cut away, obviously, the main shingle, but the beauty tabs that are on that main shingle, you can. You can also use shingles as a viable option if you did not have butyl.
There's a quick question
Yeah.
from Andrew. Have you guys done any testing with the lateral loading of the RT Mini? Hypothetically, if it were used as a safety anchoring position?
So we have. We actually talked about it a little bit last year or maybe the year before, and it is just the loads that are needed for the fall. It cannot be an option, because we had guys stating that before. They were like, "We're using your minis to attach our harnesses, and our fall gear." And so we thought, oh man, that'd be pretty interesting. Maybe this would be a viable option. And we came back and it was like, yeah, there's no way. the amount of force that is needed, not saying that it wouldn't work, it's just saying the amount of force that is needed to A-OK it or to sign off on it, we're nowhere near that. So.
I'm sure from a liability standpoint, there would,
Yeah. I mean, it was a great option, to put something up like that and to be able to hook onto it and be nice and easy. And it was just, we got all excited as soon as we heard this was going to be a possibility. And then our engineer got back to us and said, absolutely not.
And then Jamor had another question about how dry is dry? Like, are we expecting like perfectly dry, or is there like a little dampness? Okay, like what is dry?
So yes, a little dampness is okay, but obviously you don't want to trap any kind of moisture inside of what we're, of our flashing. So again, a test is you peel the back, you stick it down. Is it sticking? Then you're going to be good to go. And it could be slightly damp. It's the morning dew. It could be that you were getting rid of ice and you're still trying to dry out the roof. It just needs to stick. That is the way we test, is to say, while you're on site, peel the back, stick it down. Does it stick to the roof? It's good to go. If it doesn't stick, you still need to dry it out a little bit more.
Okay.
So showing some of these, just showing the nails here on prying up shingles and doing the traditional way. I mean, if people are still going to do the traditional flashing on some roofs, we always say to like cut out the shingle, then to pry up and remove nails. I mean, the number one reason for leaks really in North America is going to be unflashed pilot holes and also pop nails by putting in this traditional flashing. So by doing that, we eliminate that altogether. So the 30 million penetrations worldwide is closer to 50 million penetrations now worldwide of our same technology. So since 1994 is when we have started using the flexible flashing with the same screw combination. So it has had 0 leaks outside of human air. And, the product itself has changed the way it's looked, but not the way we have flashed. And we actually used to require 3 sides of sealant for UV protectant, and it was not for anything other than UV protectant. That is now just an option. So there is 0 sealant. So with the 50 million penetrations worldwide with 0 leaks in North America and worldwide, I mean, it is not a new product. And people will kind of like scoff at those numbers. Obviously, it's every penetration. I would like the numbers to be even higher. I wish we had more holes. But it was just to show that if you are installing this product properly, and that will come with training, advice from us. It's more so the training is going to be for the railless side. The minis virtually require no training. I can show somebody how to install a mini in a matter of minutes and have confidence in them that they are not going to cause a leak or cause any issues to that install. Now, traditional flashing is a little bit different. I mean, that is an art form. It is, I mean, if you're doing the traditional flashing, you have a guy that is great at doing it. And then you have guys that are maybe not so good at doing it. So we're just, I wouldn't say we dummy proof it. We just try to make it as easy as possible and make it so that there really is no errors. We tell people, if you put down a mini and you put it down in the wrong place, don't move it, leave it there. I would leave it there. It's already sealed up, and the array more times than not is going to cover that missed mini. More testing. I mean, this was our carbon arc. This is basically simulating multiple years of humidity, heat, rain, everything. And you can see what it does to just standard caulk. It starts off pliable. Ours, on the other hand, will be pliable throughout that whole process. I've gone to jobs where they have, they're doing a re-roof, and our second generation Apex or our second generation railless was installed. And we have to pull up all the bases, and because they think they're going to reuse them, because there's a stipulation that was one of the things. If you're doing a re-roof, it was one of the frequently asked questions is, can I use these bases again? You can use these again. You can use it up to 2 times. So you can use it the first time originally, and then you can do it again for a retrofit. The problem is getting the butyl off the back of the bases. It's going to be very difficult. I mean, I've had people wanting to save money so much that they stick all their bases, whether it's minis or railless, into the freezer to get this butyl as hard as possible so they can chip away and then put a new piece of butyl onto the back. It sometimes doesn't make sense, but it's just to show that it's still pliable years down the line. It's still rubbery. It's still doing its job. Some more pictures here, basically just showing when you are pulling this up or using butyl. You can see on that far right picture, you can see the butyl on the inside, and then you can only see on that on the sealant, it's only got a couple spots where it's still rubbery, still pliable, still doing its job. Other times it is just cracked up. It's really not doing anything anymore, and that's when you're going to risk a leak. You'll see that even with other products out there that require a lot of sealant, whether it's sealant underneath, the sealant underneath is probably doing the most of the work. The sealant on the bases, that is really going to crack up over time, and it's really not going to be providing any value, but hopefully it's going to save what's underneath. It's just the sealant is not a good option for this, and really the butyl is, or our flexible seal is something. That's why we have confidence in our 25-year warranty. We have outlived our 25-year warranty. We've talked about making it a longer warranty, but really it's kind of a moot point because roofs aren't going to last that long anyways.
There was another question, Guy.
Yeah.
So if you reuse the RT Mini, can you just use a new butyl strip? And I guess the answer to that is yes, right? Technically.
Correct. Yeah. So it is basically you can reuse it, but the back of it, you do need to clean off the old butyl. And then we do have, extra butyl pads that you can order and put right on the back of them. And so you could use it again. It's just once they start getting into trying to remove that, they're going to see that it is a little harder than what they think. So it's an option, and I always put it out there for people, but I have yet to see anybody do it for bigger arrays. I mean, if you're only dealing with a handful of bases and it was a DIYer that did it themselves, then yeah, I have seen them remove the butyl, put on new butyl, and reinstall that same array onto the new roof. So,
I mean, we're selling these things for well below $8 each. I don't think it would be worth the time that it takes to get all that sticky stuff off.
That's what I
you have to buy a new butyl tape as well, which is going to cost you a couple of dollars. Probably best to just buy a new RT Mini.
Correct. Yeah. And I say that it's just people want to have that option in their head of like, oh, I can reuse these. Okay, great. And then when it comes down to them actually trying it, they're like, you know what, I'm just going to buy new minis. I said, yeah.
I think probably much best use of your time. Your time is not free either, right? So
yeah. So this coming down to metal roofs. So we are good for metal roofs as well. The only difference here is that it does require another couple steps. It requires either a pre-drill or a pre-tap. I personally go with the pre-tap. It's just a lot easier having a nail punch, and it can go right through the base and right through the butyl itself. The reason why we do this is when you go to install the screw on the metal, what we have seen is when it spins before it bites into the metal, and it being a wood screw, but it can easily get through it. It just spins out that butyl a little bit, and it might not pull it into that cavity and seal it up and make it a watertight seal. We have not seen this be an issue with people that have forgotten or not done it. We just have done enough testing to see that this could be an option, meaning like it could fail, meaning it did not pull into that hole. So we asked for a pre-tapped hole or a pre-drilled hole, which is not too bad. And then also you can see there to the right, we asked for a little, basically a roof of sealant or anything that is approved. You can actually use the butyl if you wanted to, but sometimes it's, I'd rather be using the butyl where I needed it. But that is for a water shedding, because it is a watertight seal. There would be standing water on that roof behind that metal. So we just want to get rid of that. I mean, it's not going to cause that much of an issue, but over time, if you've got little puddles that are sitting up on your roof, it's not good for your roof. So
what about
go ahead.
metal roofs that are, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. What about metal roofs? I see the metal roof here on your picture with the profiles. Looks like maybe 8 inches apart, or maybe six. What about the roofs that are corrugated and literally look just like a wave, without any flat spots at all?
Yeah, so that it's not going to be a good fit. So when I say that metal roofs are good, it's kind of yeah.
You need a flat surface at the end of the
You're
day.
going to need a flat surface, but at the same time, it's like standing seam. We're not good for standing seam either. You should not penetrate a standing seam. They've got tile hooks or clamps for those, and we'll tell you. For these too, it's yes, we can be installed on certain metal roofs, and we had that capability. But once you send a picture or you ask us, we'll steer you in the right direction. We're going to say no, it's not a good fit. You know.
Yeah, you can contact us too. We've got a large variety of different products, right? That may work. Schletter has a bunch of products. Solar Connections has a bunch of products that we work with. So um, we will find the right product for you for specific metal roofs. If there is a way to connect the RT Mini, I think generally that is in most cases the best solution if it does work. But in some cases, it's just not the best solution.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I
I'll
tell
definitely.
people I'm not going to try to be everything to everybody, and people once they start using the minis, will start wanting to use us for everything, and
Yeah.
then I'll tell them like it's just there's other products that are made for this. We're not a good fit, like you're really kind of rigging up our system to try to work with this other roofing material, and it's not going to be a good fit. You should use what's made for this type of roof.
So are you saying that you do or you do not have the hardware for the railing systems for those types of metal roofs?
It
Correct.
depends.
We do not. So the wavy ones that would not like the corrugated, we are not good for. No.
Like the wavy ones or trapezoidal ones? Like, what are we looking at?
They're
I
just
thought he was
completely
talking.
wavy.
Completely
It's
Yeah, they're
wavy?
completely corrugated.
I got you.
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that puts a stop to one project then that I have that the the commercial wavy roof has already been ordered. The materials for. Um, any suggestions where I might be able to find the hardware to install that particular
Yeah,
system?
reach out to us, to your salesperson at Franken Solar. I think maybe a hanger bolt would probably be the way to go, but we'd have to look at the roof, and we can definitely help you out. We can work also with Schletter on this if they may have some recommendations on what they would recommend. Like I said, if we look at it and we see that the RT Mini will work for it, then we'll definitely recommend that. But if it doesn't work, we'll have another solution for you.
Thank you. Thanks, Danny.
No problem, Gary.
Again, getting into more of the testing, just showing more of this fully submerged test. A lot of products out there don't do that. We've done it even to the point of backing out our screws so you can actually see some of the threads about halfway, and it's still a watertight seal.
Hey, Guy, quick follow-up questions from Andrew. When I went to the metal roof, he says that he's had a hard time with thicker metal. So pre-drilling definitely was required. He was wondering if you guys are working at all on a drill head for metal roofs, a screw that has a drill head.
No, because the screws that we have, I mean, they're wood screws. So, I mean, and even if you were to have a drill head, again, we don't want that butyl to be pushed aside. Even when you're doing a pre-drilling and pre-caulking, the in-between time that butyl will, kind of fall back into place. So we haven't really talked about that. The only other option we have is longer screws. But again, that doesn't help with the thicker metal. So the thicker metal is going to be just more on that pre-drilling and not so much the pre-tapping. But yeah, we have not talked about a drill head screw.
The screws for metal roofing, they come in several different sizes. They and complete with the rubber gasket on the head, like you had shown in one of your previous drawings. Those would work fine for penetrating any roof. as well, because they're meant for metal.
Yeah,
That's what I've used that on metal roofs
yeah.
many times.
Unfortunately, with our products, it does require our screws, our bolts to keep intact the warranty. Don't get me wrong. I've seen guys have to make things work, but unfortunately, it would need to be our screws for the warranty to stay intact. More on, again, so this was a project that we did for some of the shows. We used to put a fish in there and show it off. We did get in a little bit of trouble from from PETA about the goldfish, which was kind of amazing because it seems like the fish at the fair have a much worse life. But again, it's we still do the test. We don't do the fish. But it basically is just to show you that we can install this in water. So a little bit of moisture, again, is okay. It's not preferred. We want to get it as dry as possible, but these are installed while the water is in there. So it's to show that as soon as that screw goes through, it makes an immediate seal and it makes it watertight, not a water diversion or a water shedding. Just showing some of the things on our webpage. We've got all of our install guides, installation manuals, anything you need question-wise to hand out to your end users, your homeowners. We've also worked with some people to come up with some co-branding. So if you're going to be using Roof Tech, this is stuff that you can advertise to your homeowners as, hey, the 25-year warranty, just product sheet information. It can be co-branded with you guys.
Chris had a quick question. He was asking about trapezoidal metal roofs. I guess for trapezoidal metal roofs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Guy, it all depends on how big the surface area is between the trapezoids. If it's big enough to fit the RT Mini, then it should work. If it's not, then there's other solutions for that.
Well, even on that option, so if it does not fit in the valley or it just barely fits, what we say is to go on top of one of the sides and use some butyl on the other side. So there are options for that. So like you can still use, and there's some room to play left and right. You'll be able to adjust it even if it doesn't fit exactly perfect on the bottom flat. You can go over to that next hump and actually fill the cavity or that valley with butyl, and it would be half on a flat, half on the butyl, and you can still install. Safety first. I got to say it on almost every presentation I've got, just making sure that you guys are safe up there. I go to a lot of installs, especially with the railless side, and I see a lot of guys, and don't get me wrong, I'm one of those that I kind of get up there and whatever the guys are doing on the roof, that's kind of what I end up doing, which is not a great way of thinking. So I've got to push this as much as I can, that, just be safe and try to do and be aware of your surroundings. So some of the additional things that we offer, I talked about the estimator for our railless product. I can do training on that at any time to teach you guys how to use that. Our estimator tool for our max spans, I can do training on that. The railless product itself, this is something where we worked out with Danny and his crew that we can offer you guys up. If you guys are interested in looking into a railless option, we'll offer up a free job. I mean, obviously you buy a job, you get a job, but what I'll do is come and do training with your crew on that roof, hopefully for both the jobs, do them back to back. And what I tell people is, like, once you've gotten through 6 jobs, you're going to be moving just as quickly as you were before, if not faster, using a railless. So that's where the on-the-job training comes. I can do trainings with you guys virtually anytime over the internet, with the mini side. And really, I always tell people, make sure that your installers have my card, my contact information. They can call me at any time to answer any questions regarding our product or regarding anything that they're going to run into. I've got the guys behind me to support me that I can get this answered while they're on the roof. Again, more just on the training. We talked about doing some road shows up in Canada. I've got to build a roof to actually get around to you guys. It is unfortunate in Canada that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of straight shots road wise. You know, it looks like, oh, this should only take me 5-6 hours to drive from this town to this town, and it takes me like 17 hours to do that for some reason. So that will be coming though to where I can do some training like that. Some of these next slides is basically just showing, like I said, we do any type of roof except for wood shake, clay tile, and PVC. But, and that's, so we're doing torch down, we're doing EPDM, we're doing rolled asphalt, TPO, we're doing all of this. But at the same time, again, it's like me saying that we do metal roofs. You can go to a TPO install and it's spongy because underneath the TPO, before you get to the structure, is quite a bit of insulation. And then again, I would be saying you should not install with us. There's other products out there to install properly through that installation. You got people that are wanting to, cut holes, cut through the insulation, put our mini down, put a stanchion on that, backfill it with, Chemlink or whatever they're going to use to seal it up. And I just tell people, there's products for this. You should use this. We're not going to be everything to everybody, but in certain cases, I like to kind of call it the Goldilocks effect that, it just needs to be just right. I mean, I just did a TPO install last week where there was virtually no insulation in between the TPO and the decking. So we were good to go. But that's not the case most of the times. Most of the time it's a spongy roof, and I tell people it's not a good fit. And I think I've mentioned we are the only products out there that are going to be able to install from a 0 pitch up to that 45. So again, the bitumen, any kind of membrane, we're going to be able to install on. But again, it's case by case. I always like people to, if it's something that they haven't run into before or unsure of, to reach out to me, ask me questions, and I will be the first one to, tell them, hey, this is probably not a good fit. So again, back onto the corrugated roof, so you can see like where the hump is on this roof. Obviously, we cannot install there, but these smaller ridges in between these humps, we can install anywhere on those. So even if it's not completely flat, we can be leaned over heavily on one side and then butyl on the other side as a buildup and still be able to install on these. So after going through the 50 million penetrations worldwide with 0 leaks, it's not to say that we don't get calls, about different leaks, but 99.9% of the time, 100% of the time, whatever you'd like to say, it is going to be from a missed pilot hole, or not pilot hole, a missed, they moved our minis. So I can't say it enough to, if you put down put down our base and put it down in the wrong spot, unless you're going to flash it right away, I would say to leave it, especially if it's going to be covered underneath that array, and move on to the next one. I've had jobs where I've done a free install and I'm on site with the guy. I ask him right away, did you measure the module or are you going off the spec sheet? He said, I measured the module. And I said, well, why don't we just double check? And, he gets kind of mad at me. This isn't my first rodeo. I've been doing this for years. Who are you to tell me? And I said, that's fine. Okay, you already did it. No problem. So we laid all the bases. There was, I think, 57 modules. So there was a ton of bases. And when I went to lay that first module down, it did not even reach the next base. And I asked him, I said, what's going on? Is this in the wrong orientation? He goes, I thought it was 49 inches wide and it was 41 inches wide. So we had all these bases that were, that first one is 8 inches off. The next one is 16 inches off, and so on. And luckily I had more bases and we laid down all new bases. And just had, you know, underneath the array, there was quite a few empty bases, but they've had 0 leaks on this property. And it was better than pulling up each one of those and then flashing or sealing with sealant. So again, we just say to leave it. I would not move it. Well, that's kind of getting to the end, guys. If you have any questions, let me...
Yeah, looks like we've already had a bunch of questions as we went, but now would be a good time if you have additional ones. Be a great time to ask those.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Danny, okay, so this webinar is, I'm seeing that it's not, I don't see Franken Solar anywhere. So are you guys working hand in hand with each other? How does this work?
Absolutely, yeah. We're one of
Correct.
I think there's a few distributors that they have up here, but yeah, we're definitely one of them. We've worked with Roof Techs, I think since 2018, 2019. I'm not sure anymore when exactly we started, but sold well north of 100,000 of these units in the last few years. Quite popular. I think like I would say 95% of all the residential flush mount we sell these days is with RT Minis. There's a couple of customers that still are using traditional type of flashings, but anyone that has ever switched over away from using the traditional flashing and hanger bolt kind of solution has over to Roof Tech has loved it and stayed with the Roof Tech. I don't think anyone has gone back. So yeah, we definitely are distributing this product. You can find it on our price list. If you don't get our price list currently, definitely reach out and we'll hook you up.
Okay, the other question I had was I've missed 2 webinars in the recent past because of your time. I just found out there, I phoned Franken Solar again this morning because I didn't want to miss. And of course, I just whipped over from the job site here to try and get this in. But what time is it there right now, Danny?
It is 2:00 in the afternoon.
It's 2:15 there.
5 after 2, yeah.
5 after 2. Okay.
Yeah, and okay, all our webinars can be found on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Franken Solar, you will find our YouTube channel. All the webinars, including this one, are on there. Well, this one will take a couple of days and it'll be on there. So definitely go on there, have a look at it. If you have any additional questions, please reach out. You can reach us at sales@frankensolar.ca. If you have a key account manager you're working with already, or an account manager, you can reach them as well. And any questions you have, we're happy to help out with. We're also happy to hook you up with Guy. If you have additional questions, we can send you his contact info. Actually, what is the best way to contact you, Guy?
So you can either call my email. Hold on. There you go. There's my email and phone number. And if anybody has any questions at any time, just give me a call. I'm available. Or have questions about specific jobs or whether or not we'd be a good fit, anything like that, you can reach out.
Perfect.
But like Danny said, yeah, like Danny said, if it's not a fit, like I'm not going to try. People, like I said, will really want to try to use us, especially once they start using us and get used to us. But then once they run across a different style job or come across something that they haven't run across before, I'll be the first one to say, this isn't a good fit, but definitely talk to Danny or your, designated sales guy at Franken to say, what is the best option for me?
And there's no one solution that fits everything, right? Probably the reason you do get asked a lot why, if it works on something new, is because the RT Mini is so flexible and it works on so many different roofs, right?
Correct.
It's probably the one that works on the most type of roofs I've ever seen. But of course, it has its limitations too. That's only natural. Not even hanger bolts work on everything, right? There's roofs where hanger bolts don't work. Like it is a very, very good and flexible solution.
Hey, Danny, your email address.
Yeah,
Danny.
sales at frankensolar.ca, and I get that. Or you can send it to danny.mueller@frankensolar.ca. Either way works.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Any additional questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Good.
confirm something before you go.
Sure.
That the railless system that you guys are introducing, is that is that meant to go directly onto the rafters, or can that go anywhere like the RT Mini?
It's just like the Mini. It can go anywhere.
Okay, thanks.
So the base is going to look virtually the same. It's a little taller in profile, but it's going to have the same screw combination, same 2 for the rafters, same 5 for decking. It's going to be the same screws, same butyl, same everything. It's just going to look slightly different.
Awesome. So if nobody else has any questions, thank you very much for everyone for attending. Thank you, Guy, for taking the time today. It was very informative. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So for those that like to attend these webinars, next week I think we're doing one on the Canadian Solar 600-volt AC inverters, which is really exciting. One very, very popular product. We've sold already over 35 megawatts for the year of those. So feel free to attend, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks,
Thank
Guy.
you guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.